We are living in an age where perhaps more animals are sacrificed every year than any time in the history of Islam. So much blood, so much meat. But Allah Rabbul Izzat is saying that it is not what is reaching Him. What reaches Him is taqwa. It is piety. So what is this taqwa? What is this piety? Where is that piety? And in this time, in this age, in this dark ahir zaman, what kind of piety is going into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do we know what taqwa is anymore? Or have we turned our religion into a performance where the person who does the biggest quantity, who makes the biggest show, who gets the most followers, who gets the most clicks is the best one in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It cannot be. Because what decorates you in this dunya is completely different from what makes you acceptable in the sight of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Bismillah-r-Rahmani-r-Rahim. O children of Adam, we have sent down to you the dress that covers your shame and provides adornment. But the dress of taqwa, of piety, that is the best. That is one of the signs of Allah so that they may learn a lesson. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also saying, Bismillah-r-Rahmani-r-Rahim, O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah with the taqwa that is due to Him, and do not die except as Muslims. In his tafsir of this ayat, Imam al-Qurtubi gives the hadith that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said about this. The taqwa that is due to him, the piety that is due to him, is that he be obeyed and not disobeyed, remembered and not forgotten, thanked and not shown ingratitude. And Hazrat Ibn Abbas said about this ayat that the taqwa due to Allah is to struggle to the utmost in the way of Allah, not fear the blame of any blamer for Allah's sake, and establish justice even against oneself and one's children. So this is taqwa. This is what we're actually presenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when that animal is going to get cut on the Qurban place. But we should ask, what do we have to present to Allah? This is the age of the worst tyrannies, the worst injustices, the worst cruelties that are taking place on the face of the earth. The worst betrayals. In the face of that zulm, where can the taqwa be? We must look at the world. Look at the children who are walking through fire. Look at the innocent ones, those babies whose faces have become dry from hunger. We are made to look at the people gathered for food only to be shot at and to be murdered. They are showing that the Muslims who are sacrificing loads and tons of animals, we need to look at that. We need to look at the 3 million or so Hajjis that are in Hajj right now. It is the silence of the Muslims' piety. It is the enjoyment of the Muslims while their brothers and sisters and their children starve. Piety. When the Muslims forget about their brothers and sisters and just live a normal life, is that piety? When the rulers are participating in the murders of the innocent, is that piety? When our rulers put the harshest punishments on the heads of the poor, but don't hold account those close to them for the worst crimes, is that piety? When the Muslim leaders and presidents and prime ministers are breaking fast with the killers of the ummah, is that piety? And when normal people are living a life in a coma of ghaflat, lost in their phones, lost in their enjoyment, lost in distraction, completely heartless and headless and senseless, is that piety? When we bring cruelty into our own houses, against our family members and our dependents, is that piety? And in tariqat, if we don't have mercy to each other, is that piety? If we are not caring about the person next to us, seeing their pain, and if we are just moving on, is that piety? If we cannot treat each other's children as our children, is that piety? It's not. So then we reach to the point that the nations before us reached, where their rituals became empty rituals. Instead of looking at what we are actually offering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the Maidan of Qurban, we start asking what color, what age, what kind, what breed. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave that example in the Quran al-Karim of the previous nations. And we see now that this ummah, we're going deeper and deeper than them.